Good morning, everyone. I am looking at unequal sharing this morning. Now, unequal sharing is a very simple topic in mathematics. It's very easy for you to understand, so you just need to follow a few steps. There are some questions in unequal sharing that are a little bit more complicated or complex. I am not looking at those at the moment. I just wanted to get an idea of what is unequal sharing and how it works. So I prepared this for you, and I want you to just read with me as I go along, and we will go through some examples. So unequal sharing. When we are dividing something, we share, or if we are sharing something, we either decide that we are going to share something equally or unequally. If you were given, money, pack of pencils, you were told to pack some things inside of a box. You either decide to share it equally and pack things equally, or you may decide that you need to put things in uneven numbers, in unequal amounts. So if you ever see the word article, in mathematics, article is just a word that is used to highlight anything. So an article could be a pen, it could be money, it could be boxes. It is just a word that is used for items, basically. We either decide that if we are sharing something equally, so for example, if we are sharing equally, you just basically divide. Look at this example. I was given $720 and I was asked to share it equally among my 4 siblings and myself. So be very careful when you are reading, and that's something very important to note. It is 4 siblings and myself. I have to get some, so therefore 5 people. So if I take the $720 and I divide it among the 5 people, that's $144 for everybody. Right? So $144 multiplied by 5 should give us back $720. That is not unequal sharing. That is sharing equally, or equal sharing. So I don't believe I need to do another example. Obviously, if I tell you share something equally among 10, divide by 10. If I say share equally among 15, divide by 15. Remember, this can also say things like pack into boxes of 5, pack into bags of 20. Same thing. So, unequal sharing. In unequal sharing, there are times where a quantity, or whatever we are sharing, is not divided equally. Right? Therefore, there are steps that should be taken. So here is what you really need to learn. You need to learn these steps that are highlighted here. Right? Remove or subtract the unequal amount, because when you read the question, somebody has to get extra. You have to note how much the extra is and remove it first from whatever is the total. So if I say take out an extra 20 here, then you have to remove that 20 first from 720. Therefore, you will have a remainder. After you remove the unequal amount, or the extra for the person, divide the remainder equally among how much ever people you are dividing. And then whoever has to get that extra amount, that person, you just basically give them the extra. Now, if you don't understand those steps, although they are very simple to understand, look at the example and look at the application. Look at how I apply these steps. So we have Terry. Terry has 50 pence. He is asked to share it between himself and Maria. That's 2 people. So he receives 10 more pence than Maria. Now, I do not know how much Terry is getting. This part is very important. I need you to understand it. Terry, we do not know how much he is getting. Maria, we do not know how much she is getting. The only thing we know is that he has to get 10 more pence than whatever she gets. So look at the working. Maria, first of all, before we even give Maria, if somebody tells you, hey, you have to get 10 more than her, then the first thing to do is to take out your 10 and put it aside. So if I remove 10 from 50, I now only have 40. You cannot go to Maria with 50. Because if mommy told you, hey, look, 50 pence, share it, and you go by Maria with 50, then Maria will want 25. But if mommy says, listen, I need you to take out 10 pence first, because you are my favorite, I'm just joking. If mommy says to take out 10 first, you have to take out that 10 first before you go to Maria, because Maria will want equal amount. You cannot do that. So take out 10 and then go to Maria with 40. Then you say, Maria, I got 40 pence and I want to share it. So I'm sharing 40 divided by 2. 20 pence for Maria and 20 pence for Terry. So here's how it goes. It is good to know that we do not know how much Terry receives and we do not know how much Maria receives. The letter X, well, any letter, but I'm using X. The letter X means a number we do not know. So I don't know how much Terry is getting. I'm going to call that X amount of pence. I don't know how much Maria is getting. I'm going to call that X amount of pence. Then, figuring out X was where we divided to find 20. So 20 pence for Maria, 20 pence for Terry. That gives you only 40. If Maria gets 20 and Terry gets 20, that's 40. And then you give back Terry his 10 extra. When Terry runs back to his room, Terry will have 10 extras. So now Terry has 30 and Maria has 20. Now that's 50. Just a little note, I don't want you to worry too much about these X's. Just remember the steps. Those X's are for the bigger questions, and when we do the bigger questions, you will see why I wanted you to remember them. As I said, remove the unequal amount, share it equally, now the remainder, and after you have shared equally, you have 20 for Terry, 20 for Maria, and that gives you a total of 40. And then Terry went back to his room and found his 10 extra. He has 30. And the good thing about unequal sharing is that if you add it back with the amounts you are saying, you will have 50. Now if you look at the question, you will note Terry had 50 pence. He shared it between Maria and himself. 50 has to share. He receives 10 more than Maria. So 30, 20, 10 more than Maria. 30 and 20, right? And then afterwards now, he has 50 because 20 and 30 is 50. Looking at David. David has 170 apples and he needs to share those apples among himself and 2 friends. But he decides to take out 50 apples first before sharing. So, if I remove the unequal amount, I am removing 50 because you have to take out your 50 first, put it aside, and then divide equally. Again, the reading, it is 3 people. Divide by 3, 120, which is the remainder, divided by 3 is 40. Remove the unequal amount, divide equally. Then you start doing, this is where your statements are important. Now remember, as I said in the beginning of the question, I do not know how much Tom is getting. I do not know how much Jerry is getting, and I do not know how much David is getting. What I do know is that David has to get 50 apples more. So when I share equally, that is where I am finding out for X. This is finding for X, for what is the unknown amount. Right? I don't know how much, so I am sharing. Afterwards now, you have 40 40, and 40. Remember, Tom gets 40, Jerry gets 40, David gets his 40. And then David leaves them. That is what I need to understand. I need you to understand that David had 170 when he walked out of the jungle with all of those apples. He met up Jerry and Tom. But before he walked across to Jerry and Tom, David said, you see me? We here stuck on this island. Let me put aside 50. And when I put aside my 50 and hide that in the bush, then I will go across to them and boy, you know, I really only find 120, not 170, because if you only tell them that, they will want him. And they didn't want to pick no apple. So, he takes the 120 and he divides that. He says, here, Tom, take 40. Here, Jerry, you take 40. And I go keep 40, right? And then them said, okay, well, thanks, and they go their way. And then David walked back by the bush and he find his 50. So David do have 40. David has 40, and then his 50 that he hide, he has 90. So David has 90. Jerry has 40. Tom has 40. Therefore, that gives you back the 170. As I said, it is very important when you add it back up that you get back the same number you started with. It's called unequal sharing. Please review it carefully and we will do some exercises.